Welcome in to DC On Screen, a podcast about the DC Universe properties being brought to film and television. I am your host, David C. Robertson. This is my co-host, Jason.
Hey.
And today we have a special guest, Mr. freaking Scott Matteson.
What?
Of the Next Time podcast.
That's,
of the Next Time podcast.
That's me.
That is you.
The Next Time podcast. It's still new. It's still in its infancy. It still has that new baby smell.
Oh, can't even tell what hair color it has yet.
Well, I gotta tell you guys.
Oh man.
Enough about me. All right, seriously. Let's talk you guys. I'm beyond.
That's what we always do.
I'm beyond geeked to be on the show with you guys. I've been wanting. I've been, and you guys will attest to this. I've been plugging to do some type of crossover or guest appearance with you guys for a while, which is kind of selfish on my part. It's like, hey, you guys have a popular show and 6,000 likes on Facebook. Can I come and play in your sandbox and get some of that good podcasting attention goodness? And you're like,
and we were all like, we're almost out of sand, but we'll go get some more sand real quick. Hold on, I'm going to run to Home Depot, and then you can come in.
And then we came back with a Superman 4, and no one really
we
wanted
had to reach all the way back to 19. I love that we have the host of Next Time, and we're going to go back like 20 years. 30 years. 30 years?
30 years.
Yeah.
29 years.
Dear goodness.
Yeah. So, in case you didn't realize it when you clicked on the title, we are going to be reviewing the wretched Superman 4, The Quest for Peace today. We did promise to do this with Scott. Scott has been a long-time listener, and we've been talking about doing this forever a day. Actually, our friend / fan, Chris White, was kind of pissed because he thought he was going to beat you on. He was like, yeah, I get to be on first. And I was like, actually, we just talked to Scott, and we're going to do it on the 16th. And he's like, son of a bitch. I had the 25th.
If anyone was going to beat me, I expected it was going to be him. And I feel
scheduled. I'm sorry, Chris.
Right. I feel kind of bad that he and I are the ones that are mentioned the most on your guys' show, and yet I've never reached out to him and be like, hey, these DC On Screen guys, pretty cool. and bond over our fandom, but it hasn't happened. Hey, Chris White, reach out. We can be buddies. We don't have.
You guys should totally be buddies.
We don't have to compete. We don't have to be adversaries.
Everyone can join. We're gonna have that little group situation. And man, you're what? You're in Michigan?
Yes.
Yeah. I doubt very seriously you'd be able to join us here for the Killing Joke review. Because we're basically go to we're all going out for a good old fashioned group watch and popcorn sharing session. And
I'm a little bit jealous. My wife and I are going to the show. I think we have tickets for a 7:30 show at one of the local theaters, and I took the night off work so I wouldn't have to go see the movie and then go straight to work from there. I said, nope, hell with that. I need to process this movie in my home environment. So I told my boss to say, I can't make it that night.
Yeah.
You got to write me out.
I'm to come back here and actually do the podcast, I'm pretty much going to have to do 2 days worth of work on Monday so I can come in late Tuesday. And it's going to be a little bit of a stretch.
But worth it. Why? Kevin Conroy.
Oh God. Yeah. Mark Hamill doing Memory is Treacherous speech is just, oh, dear Lord. And I can't wait.
My big question, okay, before we get to Superman, let's talk Killing Joke for just a quick second.
I have a transition when you're ready.
This is what I'm most looking forward to seeing. I want to see whether or not they build in any of that ambiguity with the ending. Did Batman kill the Joker or not?
I want to see if there's that sound effect, right? The little...
Yeah, that's one of the things that you don't have to worry about on the page is the sound of it. You just see the laughter stop. Any additional sounds, they just don't put it on the page, and maybe it didn't happen. But with this, they're going to have to come up with something, and I'm dying to find out what direction they go.
This might be closer fodder for next time, but they might actually just fade out and not actually just fade the laughter out,
right?
And all of the noise all together, and just bring in the score.
And that one will be a little weird.
Yeah.
I mean, like a fade out would seem like an arbitrary way out of the situation. Like you've produced your way out of it. Whereas, like, if they actually let the laughter itself fade out, I mean, that's kind of weird, but it's at least a really cool moment between those two. If literally exhausting themselves with laughter, that'd be unique.
What you do is you just have Joker's laughter, that great Hamill laughter, and you have like an echo on it, and then you sort of just cut to black. Boom.
I think
ambiguity is maintained.
Right. Well, I think it will be more effective if they can fade it, they can cut it, whatever they want to do. But if they end Joker's laugh before they end Batman's laugh, if you hear Batman laughing alone for any length of time afterward, then you still have that question at the end, so they can maintain it that way.
Yeah.
Or Batman's laughter transitioning into crying.
Batman doesn't cry.
No.
He did in Mask of the Phantasm.
I was waiting.
He did.
I was waiting for the backlash on that one.
No, it's sad. I'm over here going, we could totally have a crying storyline. That'd work. Push him. All right, I'm going to transition from Killing Joke over to Superman.
Do it.
By saying that Jimmy Olsen's camera looks creepily like the cover of The Killing Joke.
It's an icon.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the regular ass camera that everyone had at the time. But I swear, like when whoever was drawing, I mean, I can't remember the guy that drew it. Dear God, help me.
Brian Boland.
Thank you. Way too early for me. But yeah, I would bet he had that camera sitting around. It was a very popular camera at the time, wasn't it? I mean, it was like if you had professional equipment, you had it.
With Jimmy Olsen with that camera, all I can think of is his line from this movie. What a scoop!
Right. There's this big line.
Yeah, I wrote that down. It's like this in the annals of Supermandom. I think that's all Jimmy. That's his tagline. What a scoop!
That's his great.
Why is Jimmy Olsen the only character who never got out of the 40s?
No, Perry White on several occasions had his feet planted very firmly in the past.
And yet,
well, that was fine.
And yet Jimmy is the only one that they crossed over to Helen Slater's Supergirl.
That's a good point.
It's the only one they could get.
That's true. True enough.
He's the only one that Grant Morrison ever had any real fun with.
So much wrong with this movie. Oh, God.
I've got it just playing in the background. Just, I don't know, glutton for punishment kind of thing. And, man, I didn't realize it. I've been watching the actual movie. I hadn't watched any of the props in the background or anything, but there's a sign. You know how? Have you seen the whatever it is, Realty? When he shows up in Smallville, there's that whoever the hell that guy is that's trying to sell his farm for him.
Oh yeah. Hornsby Realty.
Hornsby, thank you. Have you seen the sign for Hornsby Realty? He's got a big one up there for sale, and then the number to it is it's like a picture of a cell phone dash and then 4 numbers.
Well, no, it's a picture of a rotary phone.
Sorry, picture of a phone. Yeah, I've forgotten the word "cell" isn't supposed to be attached to the word phone.
I mean, they had cell phones back in the day, as evidenced by watching the original Lethal Weapon, but they were like they were the size of like a microwave.
Yeah, they did. My grandfather had one of those that like took up the back seat. It was amazing. But
no, I did not see his realty sign.
Just the little things in this thing, like it's not even a full phone number. It's just the idea of a phone and then 4 numbers attached to it.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice in this movie, every time they're in Metropolis, there are like New York signs everywhere? I mean, in the subway, on the street, like they're just like very clearly New York. They're just not even hiding the fact that there's a Statue of Liberty. We'll just have the Statue of Liberty in the middle of the movie for no reason at all.
Right.
They used as much as they could to make it seem like New York, especially with Metropolis. They moved the Statue of Liberty, the Empire State Building, and the Twin Towers. They moved them all to Metropolis. Because that's clearly where they belong. And I'm pretty sure that they did all this because they wanted to really drive home the fact that we're in Metropolis, considering the fact that they were filming in England. Which is why it is so fucking gray all the time.
Yeah.
It always looks like it's 5 seconds before a downpour.
Yeah.
No sunshine.
You don't have to worry about
like
getting in the shot before, the sun hits the wrong area at least. You just get in the shot before everything rains.
I seem to remember a story about them begging to shoot in front of the actual UN, and they were just like, nope. Oh, those poor bastards.
Yeah, so I took let's say a few notes, and to listeners who are absolutely sick of hearing Dave say the words, so our buddy Scott Matteson over and over and over again. Yeah. The people who are sick of that will know that I am known for making lists of notes and submitting them to the show, and I did that for this movie as well, and they are roughly in chronological order throughout the film.
Oh, perfect.
I was taking them as I was watching it with my wife, who had not seen this movie before, but who is very good at running commentary, pointing out logical flaws and discrepancies in movies.
Well, the number one logical flaw for this movie is Superman 4: The Quest for Peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The number one logical flaw for this movie is this movie.
It was made.
And she's great at criticizing in just the right way. So it was definitely a bonus for me to have her there because she helped to supplement my notes. Mine
mostly just went, oh God, about every 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Hers started at the opening credits, which began with
that was the first time I said, "Oh God."
Yeah, I love the wannabe laser tail credits.
Yeah,
man. Even the opening credits look cheap.
Here's how bad it is.
It didn't
compared to the previous. They were horrible.
Like it's so
like
bad
a cheap approximation of the old ones.
Did y'all actually? All right, did y'all do the? I actually listened to the commentary track from Mark Rosenthal, and the sad part is,
I didn't do that.
I oh my God, like as the credits are opening,
should.
he literally says, "Well, you can already kind of tell things are starting to go wrong."
I remember that. I watched this movie with the commentary, but it's been a couple years. It's been probably about 3 or 4 years since I watched the commentary, and I didn't have time to rewatch the commentary for this show. Mm-hmm. But I clearly remember that, thinking, okay, I'm not going to hate this commentary after all, because this guy knows what's going on.
Well, he spends most of the, like, he's the apologist for the film for most of it. Like, he spends most of it kind of saying, hey, I don't want to hate on the visual effects got too much. He was absolutely hogtied. You got to believe it. No one would do this willingly. Like, there's just no fucking way. But he spends most of the film kind of saying, all right, well, they made us like cut a bunch of stuff, so you didn't get to see this other scene, and that makes a lot more sense when you see this other scene. Well, look, man, I watched the deleted scenes too, Mark, and no, it doesn't. I sat there and watched 30 minutes of extra footage, and that did not ultimate this thing at all.
There are other deleted scenes that I've read about that aren't on anything, on any disc anywhere.
Nice.
But from what I've read, they don't make sense with it either.
No, some of these are just terrible. There's an entire sequence they cut where basically the first version is this goofy ass Bizarro looking thing. It's like Nuclear Man's Bizarro essentially, and he
the first version of Nuclear
Freddie
Man
Munster with it's bad.
The first version of Nuclear Man does look very much like Bizarro.
Yeah, and he's just the goofiest goddamn thing I've ever seen in a movie. And the soundtrack, I think it was just a Placekeeper soundtrack, but you could tell the mood they were going for was Looney Tunes. Literally, music that you would hear in Looney Tunes.
Yeah, it was light and goofy and horrible.
It was way bad. And like he refers to that scene and that sequence several times during the commentary, saying, "Well, I mean, this doesn't really completely make like the stuff with him and Lacey, isn't that her name? The reporter that we suddenly are supposed to care about.
Yep.
The publisher.
Yeah, the Nuclear Man like having a crush on her is like, well, that makes a lot more sense if you see the previous character. Like he had a crush on her, so he does. No, man, like the previous incarnation of Nuclear Man suddenly had a crush on her, just like your guy did. Like the film flows just fine. It's just bad.
It's all horrible. And so notice we got as far as the credits before we jumped ahead to almost the end of the movie. So
right.
There's no way to have a discussion about the movie that makes more sense than the movie. It's all just it's all craziness. It's all chaos.
The words "natural discourse" will not be employed here.
Mm-hmm.
I did notice that in the credits there that Alexander Courage worked on some of the incidentals and stuff, which is the guy that composed the original Star Trek theme. And I'll be damned if I didn't hear some of that Star Trek type music when he was fighting Nuclear Man on the moon.
Oh.
You know what? Now that you mention it, yes, indeed. Now I can hear it. That's crazy.
It's very amok time, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, it is. Wow. I might have to Photoshop something, or we would need the audio element. I might have to teach myself some video editing so I can put Kirk and Spock on the moon with Nuclear Man and Superman. I've been affected by knowing that this review is coming up. Because Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, has been on my mind quite a bit. And add on to that the fact that I have been doing a binge watch / rewatch of Smallville. So now I have Smallville on the brain. And with my Next Time Twitter account, for those of you who don't know, I will put out fake joking predictions for what's going to happen next season on all these different shows that we're watching.
Oh, nice.
For example, one that I was really proud of was tweeting that next season on The Flash, the season finale sees Tim Thomerson guest appearing as Earth 6 Max Mercury, standing alongside John Wesley Shipp's Jay Garrick. # perfect. So it's things like that. Things that are not going to happen, but I think they're funny. So I had to put one out last night. Next season on the CW Supergirl, Lena Luthor ends the season creating Nuclear Girl. Played by...
I wouldn't actually be surprised.
Yeah.
Played by Kristen Kriuk.
Don't know her.
That's Lana Lang on Smallville.
Okay.
You know that thing that we keep telling you to watch?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be perfect, though? That would be the greatest way to bring her onto the show, because they like bringing Superman alums onto Supergirl. So you bring Kristen Kriuk as Nuclear Girl. She's got the black hair and the half Chinese ancestry to go against Melissa Benoist's blonde hair and very white skin. Just like in Superman 4, you had his black hair and very white skin up against Mark Pillow's very feathered blonde hair and tan skin. See, it's the dichotomy that works both ways, and then we can get Kristen Kriuk on there, and then of course we have to find a way to get John Cryer to guest star on that episode as someone. Who knows? Maybe maybe as an old Lenny Luthor.
I would like he could do a fun, serious take on this that would be hilarious. Watching, literally see him watching footage of his old self and just mocking himself.
I want to see that movie. I want to see John Cryer doing a commentary for Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
That'd be great.
See how many times he, as the actor sitting in the chair, will just say, "Oh no."
Yeah. Hey, Mark Rosenthal points this out, and I completely agreed with him. That is one of the worst roles I've ever seen played by anyone ever in any capacity, in any way. That was just one of the worst performances I've ever seen. But it looked like he was having the most fun of anyone there.
Oh, absolutely.
He was the only one that was in on how bad this movie was.
He was finding a way. He was finding a way to enjoy it. Everyone else, you could tell, they're like, when the fuck can I get out of here? I gotta go. Christopher Reeve is like, this is going to destroy my career. This was my greatest role I was known for. And now it's going to tear me asunder. It's going to bring me low. I need to move on and make Street Smart, which is what the movie they said that they would help me make.
To find that movie again.
Gene Hackman is saying, I'm actually not even here. It looks like I'm here, but I'm not. I'm going to go on to something bigger and better 5 minutes after we're done here. Margot Kidder is saying, where's my cocaine? I got to go.
Right. I feel a snowstorm coming on.
She was rough in this movie.
Oh, it was bad.
Margot was so bad.
I did not get the chance to do the research on this, and I should have, and I feel bad, but I'll just go with the theory. I think that one of the reasons that she doesn't look quite right is because all of her front teeth, I think those are all fake.
Yeah.
And I think those are all crown or veneers or whatever you want to call them. I think that's a set of false teeth in the front, because I think that she lost all of her front teeth in some type of a accident, which I think was drug connected. I think she was under the influence and like either got in a car accident or fell in the street or something like that and lost all her front teeth and had to get them all replaced, which is why it looks like she doesn't know how to talk with those teeth.
That is rough.
Yeah, she is. It was real rough with her. I don't know what was going on, but I was just like, oh, I don't even remember her being that bad in Smallville. So clearly she had some sort of, I don't know,
this
time
was
to
a transitional
recuperate
period.
from that state.
Yeah, she's been in a bit of recovery in the 20 intervening years between Superman and Smallville. For the like two appearances that she had before she said, I don't like how you guys handle Christopher Reeve's death. I'm out. So I said, okay, fine. We'll kill you off screen and show you buried in a ditch.
Right.
Spoilers for Smallville.
Right.
Dead, buried in a ditch.
Shut up, Scott.
Throwing that out there.
So we knew...
It's the one exciting thing that happened that season.
No, actually, it wasn't.
No.
I will continue to mock that show.
I didn't
until
even
I've
remember
seen it.
that happened. I didn't even remember that happened, man. I had no remembrance of that.
Right.
I had other things in my head for that season. Anyway.
Now, we can tell from early in this movie that they are throwing physics out the window. When you consider the fact... consider the fact that the cosmonaut working on the outside of the space station gets hit with, straight up, another space station. And it just kind of sweeps him off like a feather duster. My only note for that is liquid Russian.
I don't think it's strong enough to say that it's throwing physics out the window. This is declaring war on physics. Way more active.
Indeed, they're antagonizing physics.
Yeah, like actively trying to get it to fight them. Yeah,
they're poking physics with a stick.
They are the first nuclear man approaching Superman.
Leading up to the disaster, though, the space station scene was one of the few that I actually enjoyed, where they're like, sing at home, and he's like, at home they told me to sing in space. I'm like, that's delightful.
That was witty, and no kidding, I have a note here from my wife as we were watching it. When he said his line, at home they tell me to sing in space, she turns to me and says, I like the funny Russian. and
it was the last time the movie was in any way classy or believable.
For a moment I was worried, because I'm like, wait a minute, this is starting out better than I remember. I hope this whole movie isn't going to be better than no, it's not.
No. Okay, we're good. We're good.
She asked me how.
Sadly, I think it is better than Batman and Robin.
I thought deeply about that comment, and it's a coin toss, isn't it?
I think it's better than Batman and Robin. I do.
I don't. I've been thinking about this a bit since listening to your guys' crossover with Suicide Squad cast.
I mean, it was a big statement. It was on my mind. I kept trying to compare it as I was watching the film. I think I might agree with you, but it's going to be for a different reason. I mean, not in any way because it's a good film. It's just like this era of Superman is the one that I grew up knowing. Like, this is when I was running around 3 years old in a freaking Superman outfit. This is the guy I was thinking about, like him and Max Fleischer and everything. So some part of me wanted to be optimistic even watching this film. Like, every time he came on screen, I could feel the little boy in me going, and then like it was just it was a roller coaster. Like, I would see him and go, maybe he can save it, because like that's what I thought of every time I saw that cape when I was a kid. Like, he can save everything. He couldn't save this movie. It didn't work that way. It was an emotional ride.
That does remind me. We've been trying to figure out for years what that Superman movie was that you saw when you were a kid in the theaters. Was it this one?
Must have been this. Really must have been. I mean, I
didn't know if it jogged your memory.
No. Because that movie, that memory was way before I had. I don't have a lot of memories from that age. I would think I was maybe 3, like maybe just 3 or something.
Okay.
So this one, thankfully, didn't stick around. But rewatching all of the Reeves movies, like as I was growing up, that did. So
yeah,
I would not like this to have been like the first thing I remember seeing.
Yeah, I still think that Batman and Robin would have to be considered a better movie than this, if for no other reason than from a technical standpoint. It's a better made movie than this. it's almost difficult to compare them plot-wise and script-wise because they're both god-awful.
Oh, just
they're both
gutter trash.
But I don't remember seeing clearly visible like aircraft cable style wires in Batman and Robin. Whereas Nuclear Man,
they hit all that with neon.
Yeah, deciding to skip the elevator, and he'll just fly through all the floors to the top of the building, and clear as day, you can see those wires coming from his hips straight up into the ceiling to pull him through. Every single floor, wires. It was egregious. Mm-hmm. Those wires were egregious, and you don't see that in Batman and Robin.
Well, they ran out of wire covering budget. What are you going
to do? How much do you guys think that Christopher Reeve actually helped write this story? Because
it says written
better
by.
Or worse, his name is in the yeah. I mean, well, it's a story by.
Story by. I mean,
he helped write the story. He was one of 3 names on that story.
In Rosenthal's commentary, he keeps he does keep like alluding to the fact that Reeve really wanted that movie. Like he really wanted to do this. He wanted to bring the character back. He had apparently he had a big ambitious idea about this. And they, A, didn't give enough money, B, sent him to the wrong studio, and then C, gave him Margot Kidder. Like, he never had a chance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me if Reeves' contribution to the movie consisted of, I want to do a nuclear disarmament story.
I think that was make relatively close to it.
I want to make a statement against nuclear war. Come up with something. And
he just wanted to get to the speech at the end. Like that was pretty much what he contributed. Was I want Superman to be able to do this speech, and gave him the whole like, you should see the world the way I see it kind of thing.
Yeah, his speech to the UN, and then his speech at the end of the movie. It sounds like Reeves walked in with those 2 speeches and said, "Okay, I want to say this in the first act, and I want to end the movie with this. You guys come up with what happens in between."
I wouldn't be surprised if he was if it was his idea to have the kid in there too. That feels like something.
Oh, that little son of a bitch!
That feels like something he might try.
Oh, who was that? Some of the worst ADR I've ever heard coming from that kid.
Yeah.
That horrible voiceover,
dubs,
and then in what might be one of the most unbelievable parts of the movie, a kid who respects Superman so much, who trusts Superman so much, and looks up to him so much.
He's doodling him in class.
He literally thinks that Superman can save the world. So, what happens? The kid's out in the middle of the street or they might have been in D.C. for that, and he's at a hot dog cart, and Jimmy Olsen's about to take his picture, and then Superman just straight up walks the fuck up to him in the middle of the street, out of nowhere, apropos of nothing, no warning whatsoever, and the kid just looks and says, "Superman!" with a smile on his face. No. We have seen children in the real world react to celebrities. That kid would be on the ground. He'd be screaming and crying. Yeah. "Oh my God, it's Superman! Oh my God, it's Superman!
Weeping.
Oh my God, it's
Weeping
Superman!"
hysterically at his feet, right?
Yeah, except he's like, if I fall down and start screaming right now, they're going to call me a pussy again at school.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh,
Superman, how nice to meet you.
It
was clear that kid was already bullied.
Oh, that's in the deleted
scenes. That kid was already
too.
bullied. He's been bullied.
There's 2 deleted scenes that are relatable here. All right, one, the kid is bullied even for to the point where you're wondering why the teacher isn't doing something about this. And they heckle the kid. Like, they draw him out. It's a whole thing. He has to, like, talk back to the class. It's bad. Like, it's a really bad teacher. Seriously. And
why would you stop the kids from heckling this kid? I'm writing a letter to Superman.
Right. You also have a principal you could... Okay. But there's another scene where Superman flies by the window, and the kid's all, "I thought I saw something. Oh, it must be not." Superman interrupts the class and apologizes to the terrible teacher for interrupting her class, where she was apparently ineffective anyway, so who the hell cares? So walks into class and walks up to the kid and says, "This is the most important letter I've ever received." And then sits there and explains to the kid that he basically says, "This is the most important letter I've ever seen, but I can't do anything about it. Thanks." And they have a quick back and forth about, well, it's you should be able to help. You're Superman, all that kind of stuff. And Superman explains to him, I can't solve the world's problems for them. It's not my place. It's a fine argument. It's a fine argument on any given day. Honestly, that's a fine point. It's like about this character in general, it's something I like to explore. Like, hey, how involved should you really get? But with this kid, it was absolute nonsense. But it does actually give him, like, it does explain why he isn't, like, hysterically weeping in the middle of the street. Problem is, it creates a further problem. Why aren't, like, all 30 kids and the teacher hysterically weeping when the Superman interrupts the class? He just engages in, like, a normal conversation with the guy.
Well, because by this point, Superman's been around for 10 years, so everyone just kind of, they're done with him.
But he's never walked into class. He's never I mean...
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, Jason? This Superman has walked into every classroom in America and said, by the way, kids, I just want to remind you that the subway is still the safest and most reliable form of transportation.
In case that's how you get home.
He shows up to every school bus. By the way, kids, I just want to let you guys know that.
Well,
school buses are still...
I'm not sure.
Very reliable.
Dave, I'm not sure I can buy your argument that Superman is old hat these days and that, they're all over him. Because I tell you what, Denzel Washington has been around for quite a while. If Denzel Washington walked onto my work site and said, hey, how you doing? I'm Denzel Washington. I would just start screaming.
Yeah.
I would just start screaming.
But I wouldn't. I'd be like, oh, hey, how you doing?
Now, there are some that I would just be like, hey, how you doing? Like Tim Allen, who is from my city. He went to college. He went to college here in my town. Yeah. If I saw Tim Allen on the street, I'd be like, are you fucking Tim Allen? Cool. Nice, man. I liked you in that thing
something,
you did.
Probably.
All right.
Over the years, something.
Right.
I heard
Man of the House? That was all right back in the day.
I heard good things.
I liked you in... Wait a minute. Hold on.
Yeah.
I'm on IMDb now. Hold on just a second. I liked you in...
Tim's just walking away at this point. In disgust. You're shouting his back. I found one! Oh, he's gone.
I'd say, I never saw it, but I heard good things about Red Belt.
You got... All right, good meeting you, Tim. Good meeting you.
No, rumor has it, when I was working at a video store years ago, one night, I was the assistant manager, and one night when I was not working, rumor has it, Tim Allen did come in to rent a few movies on his sister's account because his sister still lives in town. This is unconfirmed.
And the world continued.
Yeah.
No, but like Superman walking into any given room would be like 8 Beatles walking into any given room, man. That would crush me. I wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah. I think if Superman showed up somewhere, I would just be like, hey, man, so Batman can totally take you in a fight. Look, they made a movie about it.
That's it, Dave. Antagonize the Dude of Steel. That's going to work out.
The Dude of Steel, yeah.
Boy, is he going to get it.
Yeah.
By the way, can I just say Lex Luthor was probably the best part of this movie. Just freaking Gene Hackman. Just yeah, and like some of his dialogue with Superman just cracked me up. Just like, why don't you get a hobby, a pet? And he's like, Luthor, you're renowned for hating children and animals. Like, what? Is that what he's known for, Superman?
Luthor's dialogue towards Superman was hilarious. And it was delivered... You could tell that Hackman knew this movie was inconsequential and was just letting himself have a little fun with it. Superman's dialogue toward Luthor is horrible. It's some of the most stilted Superman dialogue that we've heard in this entire series. And that's saying something. It was no good at all.
You know what's weird, though? Clark Kent still does okay.
Yes.
I still like Reeve as Kent. Like, no part of that was actually bad to me. Now,
that I would
in mind,
with.
Like, this is a bumbling, awkward movie, and he's a bumbling, awkward idiot. So that all plays.
I don't like that he's a different Clark Kent in Smallville than he is in Metropolis. He's not bumbling. He's just sort of I'm a farmer's son who wears glasses.
Yeah,
and I'm not gonna sell my daddy's farm.
Like in these films, that's one of the best. It's maybe my favorite like on-screen version of how they did Clark Kent. He is just downright foolish. You could not convince me that the idiot I worked next to all day was actually like Superman, and it's perfect.
Yeah.
That he does very well.
I don't know.
He manages to make Clark Kent charming, exceedingly charming throughout the entire film, which is good.
You like the guy. You would trust him, to babysit your dog, but, I mean, dear Lord, it's like you the whole time if you're just in a room with him alone, you keep thinking, I need an adult to help me. So who's going to help me take care of Clark?
Yeah.
I mean, damn it, Henry Cavill hasn't so much as dropped a pencil.
When it's extreme, yeah, you do start to worry that he's going to do himself an injury because he is so bumbling. But when it's dialed down a little bit, it becomes very charming. And you can understand why Lacey would find herself really starting to dig on this guy. You still don't want her to, because her character is awful, and her father's character should, by all rights, have been Morgan Edge, and the fact that the writers didn't make him Morgan Edge just shows that they don't read Superman at all.
Well, sure.
I think this movie pretty much proves that they don't read Superman at all.
Yeah. There's also that.
Yeah. You know, that would have made a lot of sense, man. Morgan Edge. That's good. Damn.
It was an incredibly missed opportunity, wasn't it?
It is
A big missed opportunity. They could have at least given themselves a little bit of comic book credibility by having David Warfield be Morgan Edge, but nope, didn't happen.
No.
We did, however,
the word credibility didn't get within 10 miles of this movie.
Right. We did get a slight taste of Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and Harry Potter, though, in the middle of the film. Did you guys catch this?
No, I don't think so.
Nothing. All right. Luthor has the criminals, the war profiteers, the nuclear proliferators, in his penthouse, and he's pitching his little deal to them. I'm gonna take out Superman, and then you guys can make nukes, and we'll all make a whole bunch of money.
Right.
And he's got the Russian guy, he's got the American guy, and he's got the French guy. The Russian guy, I don't recognize him. Take him out of the equation. He doesn't matter. The American guy, Mr. Shut those blinds. The sun is hurting my eyes.
Yeah.
That's Porkins.
Jesus.
Nothing.
Really?
Nothing.
Wow.
I don't know who
Star
Porkins
Wars
is.
Episode 4, Porkins. He's one of the X-Wing pilots. Also,
Dear God.
Also from Indiana Jones, Top Men. From the end of the movie, who says that they've taken the Ark and whatever, gone someplace else. Another bit here. Okay, here's a DC connection for you. How's this? Here's a DC connection. Michael Keaton's 89 Batman. The American arms dealer that Luthor is talking to, that's Lieutenant Eckhart.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I knew he was Eckhart.
Yeah. Also Porkins, and also guy from Indiana Jones. And the French guy, what's sitting behind him, is Harold Zidler from Moulin Rouge, also Professor Horace Slughorn from Harry Potter.
Wow.
Dear God.
That's Jim Broadbent, and he is awesome. I didn't even know, I didn't realize it was him in this movie until I saw him sitting behind Porkins. I'm like, holy shit. He paid his dues back in 87.
All right, that's
I
all.
have not been into the Harry Potter or much into Indiana Jones, or Star Wars for that matter. I'm a Trekkie. So.
Hey, I hear you.
I'm gonna miss stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss stuff like that. I'm sorry, everyone. I feel like I've let everyone down now.
But it does feel like now that was the most action-packed scene in the movie, and like every other
thought it was anyway.
action-packed scene in the movie, it fell completely flat. No one cared. Like there's. They packed like years of cinema into that, and everyone went, "Huh?"
You could tell though that they were struggling with pretty much every action scene in this movie. Near the end, when they get back to Earth, and Nuclear Man decides that, or as Lex would say, Nuclear Man.
Yeah, that kept.
When he
me.
decides he wants to get into the building and get to Lacey, he says, "Where's the woman?" And Superman says, "Far away from here and safe." First off, how do you know who he's talking about? Nuclear Man saw the paper, decided he loved her, and went to find her. And you, Superman, have been dying in your apartment since last time you saw him. You get better, you show up, and the first thing you hear Nuclear Man say is, "Where's the woman?" You don't know who she's talking about, so that's a plot hole right there. He says, "Far away from here and safe." Nuclear Man says, "If you don't tell me, I will hurt people," and he starts throwing fire. There's a lot of fire, a lot of explosions. That's like the only thing we can give them credit for in this movie, is they did some decent fire effects. Unfortunately, all the rest of the special effects for all the fight scenes were horrible. Before he pushes the cop cars back, you can see that police officer like kind of fly backward over the hood of the car. And I always thought, wow, that's some neat, interesting stunt work to have the guy fly, bounce backward and be able to land on his feet like that before I realized, oh, they just ran the film backward. And then the cop cars are moving, getting pushed backward down the street. Yeah, that's reverse footage as well. Reverse footage everywhere. Oh. Horrible matte shots, horrible blue screen shots. And then, of course, there's the fight on the moon.
Yeah, which was...
My favorite fight was like when Nuclear Man and Superman are fighting, and they're just like they're floating in the air, they're like falling, and then all of a sudden like Superman just like falls at this weird diagonal angle and goes ah!
Oh, yeah, he takes that 45 degree slant to his fall. That quick rotation, 45 degrees, moving the other way.
Right. I think, honestly, one of my favorite shots in the entire film is like when he's flying the Statue of Liberty back. He's trying to put it back where it's, I guess where it belongs. And just right up behind him, he like creepily, it's like a close-up drive-by kind of thing. He just sneaks up on him in the air. There's this wonderful pan over to his face, and he almost like he growls at him and then shows him his nails.
Oh, those extendo nails! Oh my god!
I mean, it's like it literally, if you just mute it, it looks like he just like caught up with Superman in the middle of this huge thing, catches up with him just to show off his new like manicure.
Yep. Every time those nails came up, my wife laughed, and that made my heart feel good. Every time she laughed, I felt great because I knew that she was seeing it properly. The first time you see those nails pop out extra long, she laughs. When we see that huge fishing net full of missiles in space, she cracked up. And that was the best. I knew that I had her when she starts cracking up like that to the missile net. I said, okay, she's on the right page.
Mm-hmm.
Or Reparo-Vision.
What?
Whatever the fuck that power is.
Oh, God.
He can build bricks with his eyes now. By the way,
I think that is canonical though. That is in the comics somewhere.
No, it's not. You liar! Don't make make stories up.
No, I'm fairly certain. I'm fairly certain in the 50s when he could do like every damn thing imaginable.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
I mean, it got a little weird there. Sure.
I will grant you that yes, super ventriloquism was a thing.
Yeah,
but he did not
have the tiny flying out of the hand guy.
He did not have Rebuild-O-Vision.
I think
the reason they did Rebuild-O-Vision in this movie is because they couldn't afford to do a special effects shot of him rebuilding the wall at super speed. So he just looked at it, grinned, nodded, and fly off again. Because, really, rebuilding the Great Wall of China is more important than catching this world-destroying madman.
Yeah, it
right.
really is.
Right.
Well, he's rebuilding the wall, which is obviously a historical landmark and should be prioritized here. Nuclear Man.
It's a historical
does, like,
landmark, but fix it later. Fix it later, for Christ's sake.
So and all right, doesn't that at some point? I've lost track of the action because you're giggling too much. I don't remember where the fuck anything happens at this point. But man, he flies into this volcano at some point, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Nuclear Man.
Yeah, he does this little like tornado-ish shaped thing. Like I don't know, he does this like weird hand position and goes down. My favorite part about this, though, is when you look at the perspective of it. Like when he flies out of the volcano, just looking at perspective, he's apparently like 500 feet tall. Because you can see the entire landscape of the top of this mountain, and then him like a good 3 inches worth of screen flying out of the top of it.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't catch that. I'll have to go back and look at the scale for that.
He's a large man.
And I love that the way you stop a volcano is to throw like a snowy mountain top into it. Just
he just grabs something heavy and shove it in there. He corked it. Yeah, he corked.
You corked the volcano because taking the top of a mountain that size and literally dropping it on a volcano will certainly not fracture the volcano in any way. It will not crack it down the side. It won't crush it or send lava just kind of, gushing out in all directions like dropping a book on a grape. No,
right.
It won't do that. It'll just cork it.
So one thing that cracked me up was, that John Kent was a joker. Clark must have had a bad dream and kicked through the baby crib. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just felt like that was a far cry from our Man of Steel, Jonathan Kent. Like, this guy is just running. Like, apparently, Glenn Ford was just running around telling everyone, like, my boy kicked through his crib. That's not normal.
Ah?
I'll leave you to think on it.
Yeah.
You know, old Clark must have had a bad dream and kicked it. Then the next day, he found a green rock, almost died.
Nothing funny about this. I think he's allergic to jade.
Day after that, car come around the corner, bounced off my son.
Right.
And then people say, Jonathan, that's unusual. Well, maybe I was joking.
But probably not.
He had to become a drunk. Had to resort to alcoholism to cover up his stories. I must have been drinking when I told you that. I've never seen a bottle in your hand. Give me that bottle right now. I'll prove it.
I'm going through my notes and I'm seeing so many things that I'd forgotten that I took notes down about. Lois goes to visit Clark in his apartment, and Clark is having a crisis of conscience, and he's feeling depressed, and he wants to go out for some fresh air, and just walks off the top of the building. And you have to ask yourself, Lois, why are you just walking with him? You know.
Oh, my favorite part about that is
you don't have to kill yourself.
I think she says it's not worth it. But she's like walking with him off the side of a building while trying to convince him not to commit. So, like, subconsciously, apparently, she was totally down for the suicide pact.
Yeah, Clark.
Well,
strolls off.
Yes, but subconsciously,
but
if we're to believe any of what they're trying to force feed us here,
yeah,
subconsciously, she already knows he's Superman anyway.
Sure.
Because
that was the
then she remembers as soon as she realizes he's Superman, she was like, "Oh yeah, I remember all that shit from Superman too."
Yeah. Oh, and
they get back, and he's like, "How much do you remember?" And she's like, "I remember Kal-El. I remember everything."
Yeah.
And then he kisses her again, and she's like, "Clark, where'd you go?"
I'm cold. It's out.
So apparently he's just like men in blacking her, over and over again.
And
just
by the way, using the opportunity
super kiss quaaludes.
I can't go on. We could go on forever about how bad the flying scenes are, right? Because like apparently, if he extends her, she just like extends like I don't know how she's flying like straight. She should be dangling from him.
Oh yeah, the centrifugal force is magical with that. And then of course Superman, in the biggest asshole move in history, decides to just let her fly on her own for a while. There you go, bye bye.
Which means
dropping you.
He's dropping her over, and she seems to love it.
Well, yeah.
And my favorite part though was when he takes her and like throws her in front of him, which is like he's just doing like an upskirt shot. Like he's just she's just wearing like a little number, man. He just keeps throwing her, and then like there's creepy footage if you look at it that way, where he's like he throws her in front of her, and then he's just back there grinning, like what's up? Wearing pink under there, huh?
That does throw it into a new context. Thank you for that, Jason.
Yeah.
But they were just weird. It was like they were trying to recreate one of the worst sequences from the first Superman.
Yeah.
They did all the same beats. Just much more poorly.
Yeah. One of the stats I saw said that the first movie had $55 million in its budget. This one had 17, whereas the actual action sequences it had 4 times more special effects shots that were necessary. So they were trying to do 4 times more special effects shots with like less than a third of the budget.
Yeah, and keep in mind
and 10 years later,
the original budget for this movie was going to be like what $20 million less than the first movie, and then they cut that in half.
And the way
if we're talking about the first movie, are we also bringing in the second movie? Because Donner filmed a bunch of the second movie along with the first movie.
Probably. I mean, even if you take off a fraction and say, hey, they got 40 rather than 55 because we used some of that footage over here, that's still Jesus. Mm-hmm. That's still rough. And it didn't like every.
I'm unclear.
A couple of the stuff I've run across here and there. It seems to imply that like they showed up at the studio waiting to do this. Like they already knew they had a shitty budget, and then they showed up and like on day one they said, "Oh yeah, we reduced your budget." Like they already knew it was bad.
Yeah, John Cryer has said that like Reeves pulled him aside and said, "Hey, by the way, this is going to be bad."
Well, apparently Cryer was like a fan of the first movie, like really had high hopes. So I guess he had to pull him apart and go, "Hey man, just have fun. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to be anything." Like,
manage your expectations.
Manage your expectations, John. One day you're going to end up on a show. I won't get into that right now.
One day you're going to think that doing television with Charlie Sheen is
a win,
preferable to this.
So just here's scotch. Get used to it.
Well, after 20 years of hoping you can get back into a John Hughes movie, I mean, yeah, you'll jump on TV with Chuck Lorre's bullshit.
On 2.5 Sins.
Come on, John.
Sorry, I'm getting wrapped up in my notes again. I'm just, it's taking me back into memories of watching the movie. I know there's so many notes. I look at little things like,
all right.
This is one of my favorite little backstories from it, though. This happened after in post. There's I think it was in London. They were doing like a rap party kind of deal, and everyone was supposed to show up, and like Hemingway and Margot showed up. I will say in costume, but they were just in dress. They were in evening wear or whatever. But the idea was like Superman and Nuclear Man were supposed to show up in costume. Well, Reeve like basically threw them the finger. I said, I'm not. There's no way I'm getting in that costume and flying across. Like, it's not worth it at all. And they tried to call him. I'm like, man, it's part of the promotional, blah blah blah. And he just kind of basically said, screw you, I'm not doing it. So poor Nuclear Man here, whoever the hell that guy is, showed up in that skimpy ass costume to a party alone. He was an unintroduced character, because this was a new character, right? No one knew who the hell this guy was. It was just a weird guy in a costume at a party where he was the only one dressed up.
This was
and no one had seen the film yet.
An original character, and this was the only acting credit for that performer. His name is Mark. His name is Mark Pillow. He had never acted before, and he has never acted since.
He didn't act then.
Can I just say?
He's just never acted.
Just say? This fabric won't cover him. The computer inside will weave enough fabric to maintain the high moral standard I've always subscribed to.
Right.
I took a note on that myself. I want that fucking computer. I can. Here's a swatch. Make me a suit.
I will be Iron Man.
He's got like a tiny amount of material, and he's even like snipping tiny bits off of that.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, he needed backups in case this one didn't work.
And you know how Lex loves his clothes. He's got those nice suits and the frilly shirts and that little robe that he puts on. He's got $ bling around his neck. He has a big gaudy piece of gold jewelry and a $ hanging around his neck before Nuclear Man shows up for the first time, and you see it as he is sending away one of the biggest what the fuck moments that I found in the movie. What is with Madame Contessa dancing with Lex in his penthouse before Nuclear Man shows up?
Yeah, I honestly don't get like all of the hate for Jesse Eisenberg's Luthor when we have this wacky tacky bullshit with Gene Hackman.
This was what we had. Why are we hating on him?
I mean, really?
I'll take Zuckerberg Luthor.
At least Zuckerberg Luthor did not convert the penthouse at the top of the Empire State Building into his own little pseudo-Victorian love nest. That was That was the Empire State Building that they were using for Lex's hideout. When he used his ultrasonic buzz to get Superman's attention. Don't worry, Blue Boy. You're the only one that can hear me. Yeah, but everyone in Times Square can fucking see you on that big-ass monitor. But that's okay. Let's just go with it. He says, I'm gonna blow the top 20 stories off that high-rise over there. And he looks at the high-rise. Oh, you mean the Empire State Building? You could have said the Empire State Building. You know, it's fairly recognizable.
Mm-hmm. They didn't have that footage yet. They didn't know what it was going to be, so...
Nice.
But what I love is that he was like, look over to your left. How the hell does Luthor know where Superman is?
Also a good point.
And it was not Superman's left. It was Luthor's left.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I mean, do we just say X-ray vision and hope?
I just feel like there's a lot of evidence. You know, Lex is constantly saying that he's a genius. I'm pretty sure he's the only one who thinks that.
Yeah, that is fair.
I mean, we don't really need much more than his continued use of the metathetical version of nuclear.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's plenty of other things.
No, and he doesn't keep, a high-class company. He is the smartest man in the room most of the time, but, like, Lenny and the two girls who cannot stop filing their fingernails are the only people I've seen in the room with him.
Yeah, he's got Lenny, he's got Dixie, and Trixie.
They had names? Didn't even know.
They did. He did. He introduced them.
Dear God.
To which my wife turns to me and says, did they seriously just name those girls Dixie and Trixie? I said, hell yes, they did.
Yeah. Welcome to the 80s. Welcome to the 80s, honey.
And of course, every bad '80s movie has to have any bad movie, especially superhero movies for some reason, have to have the terrible cops who play into the bad guy's scheme. These two guards who get into Lenny's car.
Oh, it was amazing. By the way, Lenny's car, just slow clap for that. That sound system.
How does that car sneak up on those guys? He drives straight onto the quarry site, and the cops don't even realize it until he's already passed them. They're like, "Oh, hey boy, you get back here now."
Yeah. Just strolls onto a government-controlled work site.
And those cartoon-style fucking tube speakers.
Oh,
little
man.
horns on the side of it.
It looked like Foghorn Leghorn designed this damn system. I loved it.
Ah, nice.
They're like, "Oh, that's quite a sound system," and he's like, "Yeah, you want to get in and listen to it?" And they're like, "No way!"
Yeah.
Like, are you serious? And then when he flies it off the cliff, you could
using
totally
what
see
looks
that
like
there
a
are no
Game
cops
Boy.
inside. Yeah, but there are no cops inside. It's like Blues Brothers style off of that cliff, by the way.
Yeah.
No one inside, explodes, and then these guys come, cartoonishly popping back up. Like, well, we got a little, dinged up.
Yeah, crawling out of the wreckage a little dusty from this car.
Like their
that
faces
has turned
are
into,
slightly singed.
Yeah, from this car that has turned into a paperclip.
Yeah, well, we're not even going to go into the fact that you should be like 17 kinds of dead. I would like to focus on the fact that they climbed that cliff in like 4 seconds.
Very,
they make
very
to the
quickly.
bottom of that thing to the top of it in like no time. And the time it took to cut, and John Cryer to go, nice.
In the time it took John Cryer to pull a pair of bolt cutters out of his pants.
Yes. Which actually I found believable given the 80s pants.
Touche.
Right.
We're talking about a time of parachute pants, man. I actually think that could be done.
But those...
I love this.
Go ahead.
The
physics of the guards in the car going over the cliff and still surviving, that was preparation. Because they knew that space fight was coming. Not the first one on the moon, even though that's horrible. With the low gravity on the Earth on the moon being depicted as slow motion, and then the sound of a sledgehammer on a railroad tie every time that he knocks Superman on the head to put him into the ground. No, not any of that. It's when Nuclear Man gets Lacey and flies her into fucking space. You can hear her gasping the whole time that she's in fucking space.
Yeah.
Well, when they're on the moon, they're fighting, and they're both going punch.
That's true enough, but you're distracted by the fact that the fight choreography and the effects are so horrible that you don't notice all the breathing and the grunting and screaming. But
right.
Lacey,
I wasn't.
Human,
I noticed all that in tandem.
Lacey,
Lacey,
a normal
Lacey
human,
the human
is hanging there in space, not floating. No, hanging. Because when
Superman
Superman pushes the
just
moon,
in one shot with Lacey. A, there's wind blowing through their hair. Why? B, her gut should have exploded the moment she got into the stratosphere. And then we even need to mention the breathing problem, right? Like, you're done here.
Shouldn't she be frozen too?
Oh yeah, she should be frozen. She should be frozen, exploded, and silent. But as
very silent, and not at all windblown.
As Superman pushes the moon in front of the sun and turns off Nuclear Man, because clearly that's how it works in space with light.
Right.
Nuclear Man shuts down, and Lacey has to hold on, or else she's gonna fall. Where? Where's she gonna fall to? She's in space.
We're past that.
Can I just say, if she was frozen, exploded, and silent, if Lacey was frozen, exploded, and silent, that would be the best the character's been in the entire movie.
It would be the best performance of the film thus far. Another basic science question, though. When you move the moon, dude, tsunamis.
Oh yeah,
that would have destroyed most of the oceanfront property in the world.
There goes your tidal
several
forces.
miles inland. Oh,
everything just goes crazy at that point.
I'll move it right back. Okay, you still fucked everything.
Yeah.
And then he grabs Lacey and takes her back to Earth, though we never know that because that's the last time we see her in the movie, is her floating in space.
What, Lacey?
Yeah, did you notice she doesn't show up again after that?
No, she gets a little scene, doesn't she?
No, nothing.
Doesn't she get a little...
Nothing.
Is that a deleted... Oh, it is. It's a deleted scene.
Ah.
There's a deleted scene where she actually says goodbye to Clark. She's going to go back to Smallville to find her a hunky farm boy, is what it amounts to.
Oh, God.
And then they have a quick kiss, and she doesn't forget everything. She
so he didn't give her the roofie kiss.
No, did not.
No. Right.
But it's Clark, though, that she's kissing. Like, she was in love with Clark the whole film. So yeah. There is footage. They didn't deem it necessary, though. They just decided to leave Hemingway out in space.
Oh, man.
Like, somewhere in editing they went, that's fitting.
Well, one of the things I loved, and this always stuck with me about this movie, is the guy, the conductor on the subway having the random heart attack.
Yeah.
Superman stops the train. He looks at the guy and goes, he's all right. I think he needs a doctor.
That's,
really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
one of those lines didn't need to be there. Pick one.
And then, like, he stops everyone and goes, wait, I just want everyone back there to know the subway system is still... Like, this guy is dying. He's having a heart attack, Superman. Or a stroke. Something. Something's wrong.
Every moment counts when blood is no longer flowing to the brain. But let's make sure that these folks keep on using the subway tomorrow, because we need the revenue in this city.
And I'm pretty sure the paramedics actually do pause to see what Superman says first, right? So he actively holds up this man's medical attention.
I think he might have let one or two of the rescue workers on the train, I think.
Did he go? Okay, thank goodness.
But he stops the rest of them.
Okay. And does it not feel like they
I'm
needed
sure
a subway shot and like cut a deal with the London Metropolitan subsystem somewhere and said, look, we'll do a pitch for you if you'll let us shoot for like half price?
That was New York.
Was it New York?
There were New York posters everywhere.
Metro cards?
Yeah. Like I said, it was very clearly the New York subway system.
Oh, Lord.
Like they had like big posters up. If it wasn't actually New York, I don't know why they put those posters up. That's just stupid.
London's just a big New York. I don't know.
Well, I mean, they're supposed to be a metropolis. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, but printing up posters for Metropolis costs money. More money than it would cost to just get your hands on some New York posters and put those up and say, close enough.
I guess.
Yeah.
I guess. But, I don't agree that Superman's hair can be cut by wire cutters.
No.
You know what? Neither did my wife. No. She was not on board with that. She says, that is not okay.
And he even one-hands it at some point. Like, no, man. That's not even a big pair of wire cutters.
Jump into one of this kind of egregious plot with like Superman going to the Fortress of Solitude and getting counsel from the Kryptonians. It's just like, as these movies go on, it's just every damn body on Krypton got a little piece of that that memory crystal to talk to Superman with. Like, we didn't even know you were going, but here's our advice.
They put aside a couple of megabytes for the great and powerful Wizard of Krypton.
Right. I love that, like, this was actually a pretty good one. Like, this is a pretty good line. If you teach the Earth to rely on one man, even if it's you are teaching them to be betrayed. And I'm like, oh, that's actually pretty poignant. And then he just starts going, betrayed, 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 betrayed. Oh, what's happening?
Yeah.
That repetition.
What's happening?
That repetition undercuts anything good about that line.
Yeah. And it was right up there with the Russian guy in space for just a second in quality.
Yeah.
You were right. It was a good line, and then it's over.
Just ruined by everything that came after it.
Yeah.
I feel like there was something in this movie. There was something to this movie, like the nuclear storyline. Like Superman wants to, rid the world of the things, and then realizes he shouldn't interfere. They were right all along. There was a kernel of a good movie here.
The idea of it is,
I will give credit.
Should he interfere? That is a good idea. You play with that, but
yeah, that's like right up there with BVS, which I'm pretty sure you didn't like, Scott. So
not terribly. No, I'm still toying with the notion of grabbing the Ultimate Edition and and giving that a watch.
Oh, you should definitely check that out. Yeah, that's
got to happen.
Yeah,
gotta happen.
That's good stuff.
If for no other reason than I need to watch the Ultimate Edition with its R rating to see if the added footage pushes it into the realm of we don't want the young man to watch it. We took him to see it in the theater, but with the Ultimate Edition being an R rating, I don't know what else is in there. So I need to screen
Scoot
that.
McNary says fuck, but that's the only actual like F-bomb.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only any kind of bomb that gets dropped in the movie that wasn't there. Honestly, honest to God, it makes the movie make more sense. They didn't cut stuff that was bad so much as they cut a little bit of violence in the fight, and they cut everything that made the movie make sense.
The difference I think the difference on the violence is just going to be like Batman throws a dude up against the wall. You saw that in the original version, but this time they have blood smeared down the wall behind him.
Yeah, there's a little bit extra blood, a little bit extra a little bit of extra gore when people are getting shot up front. And then as far as the main fight scene, like he punches Superman in the face a few more times before the kryptonite wears off. So
all right, we'll give it a go.
Highly advisable.
I'm sure I'll get my hands on it pretty soon. Whether or not I do that before or after Civil War comes out and I get my hands on that, we'll see. But
I'd pay to watch Spider-Man again right now.
We were talking about what was good about this movie, which is difficult. And I agree. The toying with the idea of whether or not Superman should take such direct action to try to, quote, save the world, rather than helping humanity to save themselves. Mm-hmm. That's a good story idea, and it does warrant further examination. I don't think this movie did a good job of examining it, but it's a good notion nonetheless. That and
there's another like aspect to that. Superman is primarily a reactive character. Stuff happens to us, he stops it. Mm-hmm. He never goes out of his way to initiate action, and in this case, he pretty much goes out of his way to go take all the it's his prerogative. Like he goes and addresses the UN at least first, but it's his prerogative this time.
Yeah,
and that's another one of those things where like, should he stay a reactive? Should he always just sit here defending us the whole time, or should he actually take some action? Or if we do that, you get all injustice on it real quick.
It could risk going that route, but by the end, he sees the error of his ways, and we've mentioned this line already, which I thought it was one of the better lines of the film, which is the world will have peace when the people of the world want it so much that their leaders have no choice but to give it to them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Taken as a message, as a moral that this movie is trying to put out there, you could do a lot worse. It's
not bad.
Mm-hmm. It's a fascinating, it's an intriguing point to make, but at the same time, I don't know if I can buy it, because when he was addressing the UN earlier in the movie, and he says, I'm going to rid this planet of all nuclear weapons, everyone's on board with that. You can tell because everyone in the room stands up and cheers.
Yeah.
Which made my wife turn and look at me and said, if they're all so happy, then what's the problem? If they're all so happy he's going to get rid of nuclear weapons, why can't they just agree and do it themselves?
Yeah, I think, while I enjoyed the notion of everyone sponsoring Superman to speak at the UN, and being that super excited about everything, no pun intended, really. Yeah. I kind of thought there should be a lot more. Well, now wait a damn minute. But I guess one of the things that got cut is because at the end of the movie he says, like even Luthor's like worried when he gets put back in prison. He goes, what is the world going to be incinerated or whatever he says, and he says, "No, Luthor, as always, it's on the brink." And he makes another reference
just
to
where
that
I like
during the speech. That he makes another reference to that while he's doing that speech, where he's like, "Oh yeah, we've got nukes. It's like we've got nukes again, but I'm not going to interfere." I'm like, what the hell happened?
Good luck, guys.
What was supposed to happen to bring it back to that point? Because the last I heard, he got rid of all the nukes. So what is he talking about?
Well, there's a line somewhere in there, and I think it is a deleted scene again, where he's talking to Hackman. Luthor is talking to a couple of the world leaders and kind of grinning at him, going, "I know you kept a few." And then he talks to the other world leaders and goes, "I know you kept a few." So they established the fact that no, they didn't actually shoot all of them, because that was the idea, right? They were just shooting them all into space, and he was going to throw them in a net, which I guess doesn't make them collide into some giant Earth-killing explosion. But he
okay. See, I like to think that they were preparing. They were they were just okay, well, if Superman's going to steal all of our shit, we're going to shoot it at America and maybe one will get through. I thought that's what was happening.
No, the idea was everyone was going to just fire him into the air, and Superman was going to go catch him and throw him into this.
Yeah, I took it as a part of a plan. We're going to send these straight up, and he's going to catch them, and he's going to put them in this net that is apparently anchored in space, because you can fly a missile in there. You can hear it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can hear it lock into position when it hits the other missiles, but that net ain't moving nowhere.
Oh, and they're so haphazard in there. Like, he just started throwing shit in a net. Like, this
I know,
is the way you
right?
clean up lost, like, bottles, like, after a party. No plan.
Well, that's what Superman's always there for, to clean up mankind's
And
keggers.
why did he have to do it as a net? Like, couldn't he just, like, football throw each one of them into the sun as they came instead of just one giant, probably sun-killing explosion worth, like...
Well, if
I
he
would
could
like,
send,
I would
if he
actually
could
like
send
to
that
know if we
one-
could destroy the sun with everything we had. Maybe.
If you're gonna throw nukes into the sun, then wouldn't it be a better idea to spread it out, do it like one at a time, maybe from different angles, so they hit different points on the sun? Because if you take the world's entire nuclear arsenal and throw it all at the sun at once, you don't think there's going to be some solar flares? When he sends that net into the sun, that's not going to have any sort of a deleterious effect at all. Nothing.
No, it all you get out of is literally it's just like a little bitty dot and.
Yep, just a little poof.
Yeah, seems like we could have come up with a better idea. Like, throwing shit into the sun should not be like a... We shouldn't be using that as like that was the way it used to be with the oceans kind of deal. Like, well, what do we do with this waste? Yeah, the ocean's kind of big. that shouldn't be the new... Where do we get rid of this crap?
Yeah, if he had pointed
Don't
in
fuck
pretty
with
much...
the sun.
If he had pointed in pretty much any direction and just let it fly, it's not going to be an issue anymore. It's just going to keep on going.
Just keeps going.
Yeah, it just goes until Mongol finds it and makes it a part of War World.
There you go.
Yeah,
but
there you go.
Yeah,
they're out there battling. Choose your nuke.
Superman 5. Let's try again.
Quick question. Maybe I'm by the movie's logic.
Oh, dear God.
Lex Luthor says that. Yeah, strap in, fellas. Lex Luthor says that the sun is basically a giant nuclear weapon. So by the movie's logic, since Nuclear Man is born of the sun, when he scratches Clark, shouldn't, or basically any energy he throws at Superman, shouldn't that make Superman just more powerful? Superman's empowered by our sun.
Oh.
Now, and Nuclear Man's powers are, we'll say, ambiguous to put it mildly, right? Like, he's got...
Well, sure.
He's got, like, scratchy claws that, I guess, are super painful to Superman.
With the close up of the big fake hand where the claws retract. And...
Just amazing.
Oh,
one of my favorite shots really is they fly at each other and fight, and I forget if it's in space or where it is, but one of the times where they fly at each other and fight, oh man, he literally comes at him with his claws. Like it looks it's phenomenally bad. Like,
I think that one might be in space. If it's the same one I'm thinking of, where Nuclear Man starts a claw attack and Superman just kind of puts up his dukes, puts up both forearms,
grabs his hands,
like grabs the wrist and
kind of like the little sissy block and like.
Don't. Yeah, it's bad.
But I hadn't thought of that, and I'm surprised. I'm disappointed in myself that I didn't think of that. Nuclear Man is born of the yellow sun, so he should be a charging station for Superman.
Yeah. Everything he does to Superman should make him stronger. Now, if they'd all-star Superman did, and this was his idea the whole time, was to, like, overload Superman, fuck, we got a movie now.
Right.
But that didn't happen.
Well, they made an animated version of All-Star Superman, which I thought was pretty good.
Thank God. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
It was good. One of my favorite parts of this movie is Christopher Reeve screaming at Nuclear Man, "Stop! Don't do it! The people!" Shit.
Probably what one of the critics said later. There's a lot of lines you could just pull quote from this movie, and it becomes its own criticism of the movie.
Yeah,
it's
one of my favorite lines from Superman. "Your time in prison has twisted your mind into a delusionary state, Luthor."
Yeah.
Yep. You see what I'm saying? Superman's dialogue towards Lex is some of the worst Superman dialogue we've ever seen.
Yeah, I just realized something.
I think that sounds perfectly Superman to me, though. Like, there's a bit in Batman v Superman where he goes, "You've lost, Luthor," and I'm just like, yeah. Like, that's just Superman to me. Like, there's the bit
He's hokey. It happens.
Superman the animated series where like Superman's pretending to be Batman nighttime.
Yeah.
in the episode Nighttime.
Yeah.
And he's just standing there with his like hands on his waist, smiling, and Robin's like nudging him, like, "No, stop! Don't do that shit."
Yeah, he's all akimboed and everything.
Don't.
Yeah. Tone it down, dude. Tone it down. Don't be happy.
I saw a take on that on the cover of, I want to say it was like a trade paperback for a World's Finest run or something, where apparently the two of them had switched personalities for some reason, and it had Batman, one hand on his hip, with a wide-legged stance, big smile on his face, holding the American flag with his other hand, and his bat cape flowing in the wind, and then next to him and behind him is Superman, crouched down, shoulders hunched, arms in like little claw position, with him hiding his face in the shadow and glaring out at the reader in Superman's outfit. That's a good cover. Listeners, if you don't know this cover, also, seek it out. It's a great cover.
The idea of Superman's powers with Batman's personality is just frightening. Absolutely frightening.
No.
Yet it would be awesome. I would watch that movie too.
Hey, what exactly does Nuclear Man do? All right, there's a moment in the streets. Like I said, his powers are very confusing. There's a moment in the street where like several things happen. First, the cab comes up to him and just sort of crumples without actually hitting him. That was confusing, but maybe force field, whatever. I don't know. Later, it turns out he can melt guns. Like they just like go flaccid in their hands. There's one moment where like sometimes he shoots things and they blow up. Sometimes he shoots things and they twist up and then start spinning. But the most confusing is like the fire truck. He just like shoots it and all the fire hoses just immediately expand.
Oh yeah, it turned into like those little black snakes that you.
They turn into black snakes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that you set up in your driveway and you light it and they just kind of. Yeah.
I mean, I guess never maybe turned the water on or something, but I don't know.
I never figured out what was going on with those hoses. And of course, they don't specify his powers. They don't put any sort of structure to them at all. It's just, what would be cool? Well, how about instead of the car hitting him, what if the car hit like a force field and crumpled on that instead? Awesome. Right. Do it.
Right. That'll make him
How about we spin the SWAT van and have people fly out of it? How about Nuclear Man just waves his hand at this group of people and like those 8 people just kind of float straight up into the air, all at the same speed, all still staying upright. They just go straight up into the air and say, that could be cool. What are we going to do with that?
Yeah.
Well, Superman can put him back down on the ground. Okay, well, how does he do that? He does it with his anti-levitation vision?
Right.
Done.
I just assumed that was telekinesis, but...
Yeah, they both seem to have telekinesis in this film. I mean, I don't know a moment where he's ever had telekinesis, but hey, we can do it here.
Nope, never happened.
I think he did in the old comics, man.
There might have been like an issue somewhere in 1939, but dear God,
like super telekinesis,
probably
everything was super.
Probably
everything had to be super.
Pretty much any power he needed. Just grab it out of the Schumacher playlist.
Okay, I have a question. Superman traps Nuclear Man. Okay, so just that phrase alone. Why am I even picking apart this entire thing? Anyway, Superman throws Nuclear Man into he walks into an elevator and Superman closes it and pulls it into outer space and throws it on the moon.
Yep.
One, did Superman think the sun wouldn't rise again and go through the cracks in that elevator? But most importantly, how did Superman even know what Nuclear Man's weakness was?
Oh, I mean,
was there a deleted scene for that as well? Or
no? He claims later when he's dropping Luthor, he drops Luthor back off at the work site. I guess it's up to him to deliver him to this very minimal security work site.
Right.
Yeah, not going through the legal system, not going to court, not going to trial for violation of probation or escaping incarceration. No, just drop him back at the quarry. It's fine. They'll just pretend it didn't happen. They'll be like, "Oh, that's a little
John Cryer off at Boys Town." He just kind of doles out punishment as he sees fit, I guess. And he comes in costume, doesn't he?
Well, that's stupid. It has precedent in our beloved Fleischer cartoons.
That's fine. I get that.
Did you see that asshole just grab a mad scientist and throw him behind bars, and then they take the picture and it's on the paper?
Yeah. I mean, that's how it works in general. It's never like, well, it is these days. They send him back to court and they send him to they drop him off at the police station at least. But and he drops him
it's
off
only in this gritty, cynical universe of today's world.
Oh, somewhere in there though, he Luthor like asked him like, well, I just have to know like how'd you beat him? So, well, simple. It was like what he says like high school science. It's,
high school physics, Luthor.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The thing that
Apparently
we've
he knew
ignored
that the
through
whole
this
time.
entire endeavor.
See, the fact that he figured out that it was light that might stop him, or at least tried it, I can deal with that. I can't deal with just dropping the thing out. Like, why not bury the fucking elevator?
He buried you on the moon. Why don't you bury him on the moon?
Right. He just drops it around and goes and, like, memorializes the flag.
Like, Superman gets himself out of the moon.
Yeah.
And even though there's a madman loose, as we complained earlier, he stops to readjust the American flag.
Let's stop for a moment and raise that flag because America.
It's become slightly off kilter in all these years.
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and correct that real quick.
High school physics was one of the most egregious lines because this movie's not allowed to say high school physics, considering how it's been treating physics this whole film.
Right. I did just see the paper though is one of the newspapers they had. They clearly they're in London, right? They I guess they gave them a headline and said I needed this printed off. It comes back saying like your new favorite reporter. It's favorite with OU.
Yes, the British spelling. I caught that.
The British spelling. And the fucked up part is at the top right corner of that same page it says like now in color LOR.
Yeah, well,
someone just didn't spell check it at all.
Well, they spell checked it, but the thing is, remember, a lot of this movie's production was done in Britain. So
yeah, it's on the same page with one Americanized spelling of color and one European spelling of favorite. I couldn't make sense of that being on one page.
Yeah, well, it's because they weren't paying close enough attention to it. But
because everyone was very drunk.
Yeah, favorite has the British spelling.
I feel like there was someone going.
Yeah,
I feel like there was someone going. Wait. This doesn't add up. And they're like, we literally don't have the money for you to fix that. Like,
let me just go reprint that. No.
We can't pay the guy. We can't pay the guy to go in and fix that because this is like pre-Photoshop. So we're like, we're gonna have to do a whole nother thing. No, we don't have that. That's like a good 12 hours. No,
we can't.
And somebody went, they won't
out.
notice. It won't be on there. It won't be on screen very long. It's just going to be in the background. And then at some point decided, no, we're going to pause. We're going to do a close up of this piece of paper for like 4 seconds. Oh, did y'all love when they take over when the Daily Planet kicks out? Is it Warford Publications? I can't say his name. Warfield Publications.
Warfield.
So when they cut back to the Daily Planet offices, they, in order to do this, Perry just gives him a screw you speech, which was actually kind of fun, but the two like handymen just like lift off this piece of granite, and the Daily Planet logo is still there. Mm-hmm. I've never seen that before in my damn life.
That didn't even register for me.
That's not how that works.
I didn't even key into the fact that they just put the Warfield logo over the Daily Planet logo.
Right. And not even attached. It wasn't even
Well, you don't mess with a brand.
Like
you don't mess with a brand.
Yeah, it was just... They didn't have the money for screws even. Like it's unperturbed under there. Also, the way they took over was like he bought up all the loose shares of the Daily. There aren't loose shares of shit. That's not how that works. Shares just don't sit around on the floor. If they do, you're already going under anyway. Like there was nothing to buy.
I'm pretty sure that at that point the writers had forgotten to finish the script, and they're like, "Oh, we got to get the Daily Planet back to being the Daily Planet again. How are we gonna do that?" Perry fixes it. Okay.
How's he gonna fix it?
What about
Ask
the wrap up of the? We have to have the shot where Clark, sells the farm to a farmer. No, we don't. Just no.
No.
We never needed the only reason they even needed that scene in the first place is so he can get the crystal, so he could come back to life later.
Yeah, this strangely powerful crystal that's been
farm
sitting at the farm
storyline is just like
time.
that baseball,
right?
Yeah.
And it seems like every Superman movie in this line is like he has to go back and he finds another long green crystal. They're like, "This is the last one." He's like, "Okay," and then it's not. I don't know. I haven't seen the others in a while.
He's got if the farm's up for sale, he should do a more thorough search of that property before he puts the signs up. Just one more good check for crystals.
Weird.
How many more crystals and spaceships does he have lying around the farm that is going to be sold?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, here's the movie's excuse for Clark to go back and moon over the family farm again.
Yeah.
Like, oh, nope, no hot redhead this time. Damn. Just an old guy named Hornsby.
Yeah, that was kind of a step down from Annette O'Toole to Mr. Hornsby.
Yeah.
This movie.
Well, I think we survived.
I was just waiting for Annette O'Toole's son to show up and start yelling, "You can be great again, Superman! You can be great again!"
You know, I did that. After I watched it, I threw on Superman 1.
Betrayed!
Like, Superman 1, like, I literally finished watching this movie and then threw on Superman 1. And I only watched about 20 minutes of Superman 1 before I turned it off and just kind of, like, gawked at myself going, like, they juxtaposed. That looks like fucking brilliant cinema.
Mm-hmm.
It was gold as far as I was concerned. It was, oh, man.
Pretty much anything looks good. I after finishing Superman 4, I was like, I'm ready to go back and watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation again.
Ooh.
Now, here's a question. Would you willingly go watch Uma Thurman again? Would you subject yourself to that poison ivy after watching this film?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, I have the movie. I have that 4-pack DVD like a lot of people do. But sure. I don't go back and watch it. It's one of the few films that I have so actively tried to get my stepson to not put in the player. He saw the Batman films were there. He was like, I want to watch this one. And I'm like, please, no. Please?
Just don't. I beg of you.
I failed. I was unsuccessful. And he was like, I want to watch it. I was like, be prepared because I'm going to make fun of it the whole time.
Do you like it?
He enjoyed it, and I enjoyed making fun of it the whole time.
So it worked.
It was the most fun I had watching that movie. Batman and Robin was the film that I came closest to walking out of in the cinema, more than any other film that I've ever gone to see.
That's fair. That was still Dark Knight Rises.
And the guy that the buddy that I went to go see it with, we came out of the movie, he was like, that was awesome. And I was like, that was shit. What is wrong with you? I almost left you in there at the 45-minute mark.
Yeah.
Your buddy seriously thought that was awesome?
Yeah, but he's an idiot, so...
Are you still friends with him?
No, I'm not.
I ostracized him immediately.
Oh.
I could go into this.
I don't think you'll survive the rest of this friendship.
I could go into the story.
Like a Quest for Peace budget.
Right. If I were to tell the tale of why we're not friends anymore, then it would be a big downer because it has nothing to do with Batman, and it's not a funny story. It wouldn't fit the tone of this podcast, but it would.
Well, maybe it would.
It would explain a bunch of things.
I would prefer to think that he said, "That's awesome," and you slapped him across the jowls and said, "Never call me again," and stormed off.
Yeah.
How was it? Okay. For our continuity, for our podcast continuity, that's exactly what happened. We'll say that.
That's the story. That works for me.
Oh, okay.
Batman and Robin, destroyer of friendships.
Yeah.
Well, I was friends with the one man who liked it.
He's not around anymore.
He's not with us any longer.
I promptly stabbed him. And buried
with
him.
my Batman credit card. Slashed his throat.
It was darker than anything that happened on the movie.
Yep. Well, we got more shows to do, guys. I think
we do.
Do we have?
Oh, dude.
Do we have more to say?
I'm going to say one more thing, and then I'm done. But I'm just
right.
I've had the movie like playing in the background the whole time. Now the credits are rolling. I swear to God, it says graphics, and there are 2 names. That's it. That's the entire graphics department for this film.
That explains a lot.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of those shots were just repeated. Superman flying forward with, intention.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Thank you, Honest Trailers, for pointing that one out to us.
Yeah.
That same shot of him coming direct for the camera.
Oh, did they talk about that on the... They did an Honest Trailers for this?
Yep, they did. They went back and they did it on Honest Trailers for Superman 4. as a throwback. They did it for fun. And
They must have been super bored.
Oh man.
they did it
Like us.
in a style of watching it on a VHS tape, so you can see like the tracking lines and static throughout the whole video. It's very funny.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And the bit with
That's wonderful.
Superman's matte shot of him coming direct at the camera, they did a composite of all those shots together. So with him in one unbroken line coming right for the screen, all the backgrounds cycle through. All the different backgrounds they used in the movies, they cycle through those in that one shot.
That's awesome.
Sounds exactly right.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, go look it up. It's one of their better ones, I think.
All right. So now our listeners have some homework to do. Thanks, Scott. I think that does it. If you guys have anything else,
No, I've been exhausted by this discussion.
all right.
Reliving it was
I was worried about
enough. Like, I need a nap.
And now we're gonna go into your show and talk about Arrow. God,
Oh.
I'm gonna have a rough day at work.
God,
Um,
I'm just gonna go back to bed after all this.
we chose the worst two topics.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So thank you so much for listening to our epic review of Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. As epic as we can get talking about Superman 4. Thank you so much to Scott Matteson of the Next Time podcast. Scott, what are the addresses? Where are all the places we could find you, guy?
Well, you can search for Next Time Podcast on SoundCloud and find it there. You can visit my professional website, quote-unquote professional, trying to get into the habit of calling it that. You can visit www.planetriseCreative.com/podcasts, and every episode of Next Time will be collected on the podcast page, and they will be announced on the homepage for PlanetRiseCreative.com. The show is also available right now on Stitcher. It will soon be available on TuneIn, and eventually I'll get it onto iTunes as well. I'm looking to build up a bit more of a listener base first. You can also visit Facebook.com/NextTimePod, I believe is the address for that. Twitter, @NextTimePod. And if anyone wants to email me about the show, you can email nexttime@PlanetRiseCreative.com. I'm aiming to have new episodes released on Saturdays.
Cool. And we are going to be going over onto his podcast next time, and we're going to be talking about Arrow Season 5, some predictions for what could be coming down the pike. We are DC On Screen. You can find every episode at DCOnScreen.com. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher. We are part of the Giants Has Team Up Network as well, GiantsHasTeamUp.com. We'll be back probably Monday or Tuesday with more news, as always. And until then, keep some DC on your screen.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Here's to choice, to making your voice be heard, to getting exactly what you want, especially when you eat. At Subway restaurants, you choose your freshly baked bread, meats, cheese, and veggies to make a sub that's just right for you. Come in and create yours today. Subway, eat fresh.